So this is Maudie, and Maudie Cook is going to kind of tell us her story of how she decided to go low carb for her family and what got her interested in almond flour stuff that she cooks at the farmers market.
All right. Yeah, Justin asked me to just kind of tell how we became. My family eats pretty low carb, and we're almost completely gluten free. I say almost because my kids still sometimes have gluten, or occasional birthday cake and those kind of things. But our little journey really started when I noticed my 2-year-old had cavities. And I was really frustrated by that because I felt like I had done a really good job. I breastfed her, I made homemade baby food, I did all these things. But the more I looked into it, I realized we had a ton of sugar in our diet. And things that I thought were healthy for her, or at least okay snacks like the goldfish and the cereal and all these things that we ate all the time on a constant basis, were really detrimental. And looking into things we could do for her oral health, I discovered Weston A. And he's actually a dentist who in the 30s studied different communities around the world who had not yet been exposed to processed food, white sugar, white flour, a lot of our processed foods that we still eat today. And he noticed that these communities that had been isolated from that and had not been exposed to that were in really great health and didn't have a lot of the oral problems, dental cavities, and things that we have. His book is called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. It's really interesting. It's kind of, it's not one you can sit down and read. It's one you kind of flip through and use for reference. But it has a lot of really interesting stuff in it about what he calls a traditional diet, the diets that we ate before our foods were packaged, when things had to be fermented and preserved. In the Weston A. stuff, carbohydrates aren't really discouraged, but the processed refined carbohydrates are. One of the quotes I found says, "The digestion of refined carbohydrates calls on the body's own store of vitamins and minerals and enzymes for proper metabolization. When B vitamins are absent, for example, the breakdown of carbohydrates cannot take place, yet most B vitamins are removed during the refining process. The refining process strips grain, vegetables, and fruits of both their vitamin and mineral components. Refined carbohydrates have been called empty calories. Negative calories is a more appropriate term because the consumption of refined calories depletes the body's precious reserves." So what that's saying is when we eat these refined things, not only is it detrimental in terms of our weight, but it takes away nutrition from our bodies.
Yeah, and so they've done people like Eskimos who eat fat and meat all year round, they don't get scurvy. Why don't they get scurvy if they're not getting vitamin C from their fruits and vegetables? It's because they don't eat all the carbohydrates, they don't eat all the grains. The grains actually steal the refined grains. They steal vitamins out of your body.
And within the Weston A. stuff, he also talks about soil depletion and other things that aren't really related to the carbohydrates, but he does warn against the refined carbohydrates. So we kind of followed this. It talks about lots of, it does encourage the high fat and raw milk and those things. So we were doing that. And then in 2014, I went to Justin's seminar, and I just had a baby. I was carrying extra weight that I didn't want to carry. And I realized maybe instead of doing the soaking and fermenting and things to the grains that the Weston A. Recommends, that I should maybe just cut them out altogether. And it's made a big difference for me in the amount of weight I carry around, the clarity of my skin. I've had lots of really good results. For me, I wasn't able to cut all my carbs at once. I got rid of a lot of sugars, soda, candy, those things. That was kind of my first priority to get rid of. And I didn't really intend to eliminate alcohol. I don't drink that often, and I didn't feel like it was that big of a deal. But I have noticed now, as my diet is cleaner, when I do drink, my skin breaks out. I feel worse. It's just not worth it for me anymore.
That's funny because that's the same thing my sister said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the last time I drank it wasn't too terribly long ago, but we went out for my mother-in-law's birthday. And just that next, it was a Friday night, that weekend, I just regretted it. I felt bad. I broke out. I was just mad at myself. So that's that. But I definitely think that taking those baby steps and not just feeling like I can't have anything that I like, kind of isolate things that maybe is the worst thing for you, your biggest crutch, and get rid of that. And once you've conquered that thing, move on to the next. Let's see. Another thing that really helps us is to plan and food prep. If we make spaghetti squash, I make extra, and I may not use the same sauce, but I'll freeze that pre-roasted spaghetti squash, so when I go to make something else, it's ready. And I do a lot of those kind of things just to help us stay on top of it and help us from falling off course. I think to really go high fat, like you were saying earlier, it seems weird. We've been told forever, don't have too much butter, but diet is key, and your body's ability, your fat in your diet is key to your body's ability to use the nutrients that you ingest. And if you don't have fat, then your body can't use the nutrients that you've taken in. And it also helps with that full feeling, it provides you with the satiety that you need. Starting out, I was not buying enough vegetables. I didn't realize, we got rid of the potatoes and the bread, and we didn't really replace it with anything else. So I think that to buy way more vegetables than you think you need, and to make bigger portions even of the vegetables than what you're used to, that was something that I had to learn anyways. I wasn't making near enough and to get the nutrients that I needed. I also have much better luck when I plan ahead. I'm a big fan of the bulletproof coffee. I know Justin's posted about that on his Facebook. I count that as breakfast.
Yeah,
Do
right.
you?
Yeah, you should count it as a meal.
Yeah, because it's a lot of fat, but it's...
Bulletproof coffee is you take your coffee and you put a tablespoon of butter in it or more, and a tablespoon of coconut oil in it or more, and you blend it, and then you put it in, and then you pour it into and so it's coffee with fat and fat. And I count it as a meal. That's what I would have for breakfast sometimes.
Yeah. When I do have that, I usually, and if I do eat something with it, I just eat a handful of berries or something, because it is pretty filling.
And blend it. You have to blend it to emulsify the fat. That's how so you can digest the fat.
Yeah, and otherwise it'd be like oily on top.
And it's butter and coconut.
Mm-hmm. And my mother-in-law actually bought me a blend. It was ghee, which is like clarified butter oil, and a coconut blend that was intended for your coffee. It was already mixed up for you, but I prefer to use just butter and coconut oil. But I definitely think that the fat is important to your success.
It's good.
It sounds crazy, I know. It sounds
I'm having a
crazy.
little trouble with the coconut oil and stuff, and I'm afraid I'm not getting enough fats.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know you weren't supposed to put it in the refrigerator, so it's one solid hard cake.
Oh, just set it back out. It'll be fine. Yeah, just set it back
I've
out.
already been putting coconut oil in my coffee,
Uh-huh.
and I can tell the difference. I have more
You didn't have a
energy.
sledgehammer to use my coconut oil. I'm gonna take it out of the refrigerator.
Yeah, just set it on the counter. It'll soften right back up.
And the heat of the coffee.
yeah, see, I put the coconut oil in my smoothie the other night, and I had little globs of oil where it was cold and it solidified, and it was not good. So how do I keep that from happening?
You need to always blend it on your highest speed and blend it long enough.
I think I need to get it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think a good blender is important.
A good blender makes a big difference, and we have, I think we have one that's a KitchenAid, and it's not horribly expensive, but it blends very well. You can also use a stick blender. Well, not for smoothies that much, but you can use it for your coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just make sure your cup is tall, because it'll
Yeah,
come out the top.
I don't like coffee.
I don't like coffee either. I leave my coffee pot.
Yeah. I guess my next thing I had, there's a few places that I found that are quick that have low carb meals. Chipotle is a really great place. You can get a salad or a bowl. Cowboy Chicken has really yummy chicken. Beware of their sides. Some of their sides are sugary, but the chicken itself doesn't seem to have a sweet rub on it like some barbecue and things do. Jimmy John's, this one is my hands down favorite. You can get any of their sandwiches wrapped in lettuce instead of bread, and it's called an unwich, and it's delicious. My 5-year-old eats them. She loves it. She thinks it's cool. But she gets hers with just ham. But you know, they have all sorts of stuff. You can load it up like a sandwich, and it's wrapped really. I mean, it's easy to eat. That's my very favorite drive-through low-carb meal. We eat lots of barbecue at my house. Pick up Rudy's and those things, but do beware of the sugary sauces and rubs. We eat Rose's fajita meat a lot. We just go and get a pound of their fajita meat. I am kind of concerned. Do you know, I'm afraid they marinate that in like beer or soy sauce or something. Because soy sauce is not gluten-free, if you didn't know that. If you're trying to be completely gluten-free, soy sauce does have wheat in it. And then the Chick-fil-A has recently added grilled chicken nuggets, and they're not bad. I probably end up eating that more because I do have young kids, but it's, in a pinch, there are options. I guess that's really all I have. I don't have a certain number of pounds that I've lost since I've gone low carb because it's been kind of across a large span of time, but I do have a much easier time keeping my weight at a constant level, instead of bloating and losing water weight. And, I do stay much more level. My skin stays a lot more clear. And I think I sleep better. I think I just, have an overall better sense of health. I guess that's really all I have for my story.
I want to know what you cook.
What I bake? Okay. This is a pretty new venture for me. I started late this summer out at the farmers market downtown. And everything I make with almond flour. My muffins, I do use sugar. I try to stick with more natural ingredients. So I'm not a huge fan of some of the artificial sweeteners, but I do try to keep them very low sugar. So the muffins are about 12 carbs a piece. So for some people that fits into their plan and some people not. The waffles and the biscuits I make are sugar-free, and so they're pretty low carb. The waffles are about 3 carbs a piece, and it's a pretty good sized waffle. And then the biscuits are about 6.
So what we do at the farmers market is every week at the farmers market, if Maudie's there, we buy, I don't know, like 2 or 4 waffles, and they are our Eggos for the week, and we pop them in the oven and the kids eat them on the way to school.
Well, that's been one problem I've had is when I've had to get someplace in the morning fast, there's nothing to grab and take.
Right, and that's one pitfall of the almond flour stuff. It doesn't have much of a shelf life. It goes bad pretty fast, but it does freeze well. So if you batch cook, you can make a couple dozen waffles, pancakes, muffins, whatever you want to make, and pop them in the freezer.
Where is the farmer's market exactly?
It's at 19th and Buddy Holly.
Okay.
19th and Buddy Holly, and they closed the street. It's only on Saturday morning, and it's only there for 2 more weeks.
Oh, okay.
So 9 a.m. Saturday morning, there will be this week and then next week. And I'm always down there if you ever want to find me on Saturday because I work it with some other people.
9 to what?
Yeah.
It goes till 1, but people are selling out of things.
Mm-hmm.
On the almond flour baking, I've been experimenting with some of that, and so I found can you find just strict almond flour? Everything I find is almond flour meal, and it's a little bit more gritty.
I buy mine at Costco.
Okay.
It's a 3-pound bag.
And it's strictly almond flour. Okay. So
It's real powdery, it's not mealy feeling.
okay, the stuff I have is
And I've had better luck.
We've bought that stuff before too. It doesn't cook very well.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's not the same. I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I've had really good luck using high fat in my almond flour cooking. I actually think it makes it better. I started using, only heavy cream, sour cream, and those things to keep it low carb.
Okay.
But I think that the almond flour actually absorbs some of that fat and makes it a better texture,
Okay.
more like the bread we're used to.
Okay.
And lots of recipes involve a lot of egg, do they not?
They do.
Because the
had
egg
it
fluffs it up and kind of holds it together.
Okay.
If you're not familiar with Pinterest, it's a great resource for not only almond flour, but recipes in general. You can look up paleo recipes, low carb recipes. That's where I find a lot of my ideas is on Pinterest. And I think don't be too hard on yourself. I have days where I do really good, and then we'll have a couple weeks where we're busy and we blow it, and I think you just do your best to stay on top of it and don't be too hard on yourself.